This video contains strong language and a bit of gore. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mr. K. Sardonicus, and welcome to my Vault of Horror. Thank you to everybody who is now returning to my channel, and to those of you who are just now entering, welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Today, we are going to be diving back into the world of retro horror games as I count down 5 more fun as hell retro horror games that you can play right now. So without further ado, let's get into the intro and get to number 5. At number 5, this is one of my favorite side-scrolling beat 'em up games from the 90s, and it's from a franchise that doesn't get a whole lot of love these days, and this is Splatterhouse 2. I absolutely love the Splatterhouse games, and Splatterhouse 2 is my personal favorite sequel in the franchise. This is a game that was available on Sega Genesis, and I absolutely adore it. The imagery is actually frightened me as a kid, despite it being on a Sega Genesis. You wouldn't think that it would be scary on a Sega Genesis, but it totally fucking was. And the visceral gore was amazing. It continues the story of Rick trying to save Jennifer from the Splatterhouse and the demonic entities that live there. And it's just a fun time all around, and it definitely deserves my number 5 spot. At number 4, we have our only entry that was in the arcade before being on a console. This is the third entry in the House of the Dead franchise. This is House of the Dead 3. This is an absolute blast of a game. I'm glad that I was able to play this both in the arcades and on multiple consoles. This game is on everywhere. It's available everywhere, pretty much everywhere, except for, PS4, PS5, and Xbox One and Series S and X. But everywhere else, you can play it. I seriously love this game. It's literally one of the most fun times I've ever had playing at the arcades. And I love this entire franchise, but House of the Dead 3 had some of the coolest looking zombies, coolest looking monsters, and the bosses were fucking awesome. I'm telling you, it's literally my all-time favorite House of the Dead game, and it definitely deserves to be on the number 4 spot. At number 3, we have another game in the Resident Evil franchise. I mentioned in the last video talking about retro horror games, I talked about the GameCube Resident Evil remake. Well, I also have an entry right here called Resident Evil Code Veronica. Specifically Code Veronica X, because that was the more easily accessible version of Code Veronica. This is an amazing Resident Evil game, and I know it's kind of aged like cottage cheese in an air vent, but it's still a fantastic fucking game. And Capcom's planning on releasing the remake next year. So what better time than now than to mention Code Veronica X. This game is incredible. I love the story. I love Claire Redfield and Chris Redfield being able to, like, team up at times in the game. And seeing that Albert Wesker lived in the original Resident Evil after getting his stomach blown apart by a tyrant in Resident Evil. Like, and I also love bugs in Resident Evil, and there's a lot more to do with bugs in this game specifically. I'm serious. This is a fun as hell game, and I'm looking forward to the remake, but for right now, this is definitely worth being at my number 3 spot. At number 2, this one is the most psychologically damaging horror game on this list. And this game is actually very hard to find unless you maybe like emulate it. But this is Forbidden Siren 2. Forbidden Siren 2 is the sequel to the Forbidden Siren, the first Forbidden Siren game. And both of them are for the PlayStation 2. The only difference is that Forbidden Siren 2 is only available in Japan, and you need a region-free PlayStation 2 just to play the game. Which those are actually pretty expensive. So you'd be best just emulating the game, because PlayStation 2 games are easy to emulate on a good running PC. But Forbidden Siren 2 is literally one of the best Asian horror video games that I have ever played. And it's gotten under my skin plenty of times when I've played it. This is literally just like, you play as these characters that get stranded on this village, this island with a village of like a huge cult. And these demonic entities called Yamitos, Shibitos, and Obitos, they're like the epitome of Asian body horror. With like bug human hybrids, creatures that are like giant heads with giant fingers for legs, and also people that are straight up possessed, almost like zombies, bleeding from their eyes, and you can't even kill them. You can put as many bullets as you want, but they'll eventually get back the fuck up. It is an insane, dark, disturbing, and just haunting horror game that I hope other people get the opportunity to play in some way. And it definitely deserves to be at my number 2 spot. Now, before we get to number 1, I would like you guys to please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. and you want more content like this. We are almost to 170 subscribers. And I want to say thank you to all of you subscribing and everything. And also checking out my short videos, which they're going to be continuing going on as I develop longer videos like this. So if you want content like this, subscribe, hype up the video, click the notification bell, like, and comment what your favorite retro horror games are. And I promise you there will be a part 3. So until that happens, let's get to number 1.
You dumb bastard!
Fucking move it yourself then.
At number 1, now this one isn't as psychologically damaging, but it is pretty damaging altogether, because this is like demonic body horror with psychological horror and full-on fucking gun blasting action. This is The Suffering. The Suffering was a duology from the 2000s made by the now no longer around Midway gaming company. They developed this game, and they developed a sequel called The Suffering Ties That Bind. This game is literally one of the, other than maybe Outlast. Well, Outlast really isn't a prison setting, but it's kind of a prison setting. But The Suffering is literally the most disturbing prison horror video game out there. It is absolutely just bonkers, guns blazing, body horror, hack and slash, psychological horror, mindfuckery. This is one of my all-time favorite horror games I played on my PlayStation 2 growing up as a teenager. And it was talked about for years. It even had awesome video game magazine ads. And I miss those times of video game magazines and the outrageous video game advertisements that they had that drew you the fuck in to want to buy the game or rent it and just fucking play it. And this game was literally one of those moments. I could go on forever gushing about this fucking game, but then I'd be on this fucking couch for over a fucking hour. But it definitely deserves to be on the number 1 spot. And that is it, everybody. Now, comment below, what are your favorite retro horror games? And we might just put it into part 3, because there will be a part 3, there will be part 4. I want to continue this as a fucking series. So, do all that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for almost 170 subscribers. I'm hoping to get to 200 before October, because Monster Fest is coming back. But anyways, thank you guys again for your support, and until next time, take care.